Welcome viewers to HomeoMitra Vartaalap. Today's episode is going to be with Dr. Nikunj Jani. Uh, Before I introduce him, let me tell you the topic first. So the topic for today's podcast is why is the study of repertory so important for the student and practitioners of homeopathy? Do you recall the time back in fourth year? At least in our times, it used to be that repertory was. I think we had an introductory lecture in the first year, and then eventually it was taught to us in the fourth year. The study continued till the end of our MD education. We also have a specialized subject in repertory where students do their MD. So we'll talk about all of this today, and we will try to make it as relevant as possible to your daily practice so that you can take home something, what you listen to in HomeoMitra, you can take that home to your clinic, in your practice, in your study if you're doing so, and use it for the betterment and improvement of your own work. I was going to Dr. Nikunj's CV today, and I was shell shocked with the extent of study that he has done, his publications, his certifications, and his overall ventures in his academic life. He is someone who has started a peer-reviewed journal, and I believe, sir, it would be 4 or 5 years now.
6 years, six
Six
continuous
years.
years.
6 years. They've been publishing relentlessly. On top of that, he's now a HOD of Repertory. So he teaches, and as well as he takes care of the peer-reviewed publication. I will not spend too much of time in reading out all his achievement because it is humongous. Trust me, it is humongous. Starting from his work in the clinical areas of rheumatology, in geriatrics, his study in rheumatology, in geriatrics, in repertory, his study and certifications in publications. The list is very, very long. So, welcome Dr. Nikunj Jani to this HomeoMitra Vartaalap episode. Uh, Sir, I hope
Thank you,
I have
Kevin.
made justice in introducing you. And if you could just
Uh,
add something to feel like
uh,
in your introduction.
I think no, Kevin. I think you. Thank you for having me on HomeoMitra Vartalap. I think it's a great honor to be and talking with you as always. And what you said is the accomplishments are just a part of the organizations which I belong to. So you can see the organizations which I'm part of, and this is the organizations which give you an opportunity, and it's the one who keeps performing. So nothing which you can do it on your own. It's the institutions which allow you to maybe work in areas of clinical medicine, that is geriatrics, rheumatology, or publications or academics. So it's just I'm just a part of a big organization, and I thank you. You're too generous with words when you are introducing me, but I thank you very much for having me here.
So, we'll start with the first question today. क्यों पढ़े repertory? Why study repertory? I mean, eventually, you have to just take the symptom totality, run it through the repertory just for reference, and ultimately, it is materia medica that matters. And why study so much repertory? Why might as well create some software or have some system where you just figure out things from the materia medica, and anyway, eventually, it is organon and posology. So why study repertory?
I'll give you it's a very good question actually, Kayur. And at the end, when I look at it in terms of why should one study repertory, and I'm reminded by a quote by it's a statement which Dr. Pierre Schmidt made, one of the doyens of modern homeopathy. And Dr. Pierre Smith actually said a very powerful thing, which really strikes chord with me, is that if one has to cannot rely on memory, and I may not be able to recall the exact words, but when he says is one cannot rely only on memory. So if one has to do good practice, every practitioner of homeopathy has to refer to a repertory. I think the same statements have been made by Dr. Kent also, says that every homeopath worth his salt has to refer to a repertory. So I think beyond the memory fails everyone, and repertory is something which is an index. So yes, you are a beginner or you are an advanced practitioner, everyone needs to refer to repertory. So क्यों पढ़ना है repertory? इसीलिए पढ़ना है repertory.
So, sir, what constitutes the academic aspects of repertory at your UG level, which is BHMS, PG, which is MD, doctoral level, and the fourth part, which we are going to cover in detail today, is in your day-to-day practice. Because eventually, after your MD or after your PhD, your education is essentially over.
Right. See, Kevin, it's the whole homeopathic education is going through a sea of change, and I think we must applaud the National Commission of Homeopathy for taking in all the concepts of advancements in medical education and bringing them to homeopathy. So you now see the newer curriculum which is being implemented at the BHMS level. Repertory comes up at the first year, and it continues for all the 4 years, not like what you and I studied was only in the final year with just some introductory sections in the first 3 years. So yeah, it's going to be a curriculum, it's a part of the curriculum. And repertory is something which is not to be seen as an index of symptoms, but it has to be seen as a decision making tool. Now, how many practitioners see that as a decision making tool is something needs a sea of change. So, yes, at a primary level, the BHMS curriculum takes care of the primary repertories like Ken, Boger, Ponygozen, which you see, some introduction to card repertories and the basic repertories which are there. The postgraduate level, when you go, of course, the curriculum is now being revised, and from the competency based education with the emphasis is on the newer curriculum by the NCH at the BHMS level. The postgraduate level is also interested clinical activities where you are going to see application of competency based at a clinical level, because postgraduate education is empowering this physician, the doctor who's done his undergrad and now is studying to pursue something in a special subject. So everything is going to be application at the bedside, and nothing more better than repertory to be applied at the bedside. Same at a doctorate level. Now, doctorate level, I would not bring because most practitioners stop at the postgraduate level. Somebody who is interested in research or maybe literary research or maybe ahead will pursue a doctorate study, but that is going to be, there's no curriculum. It's going to be what you want to study and the specific zone which you are, or the area which you are going to look at. So that's how. But a practitioner, and I think I probably see myself first as a clinician and then as a academician, because all of us were trained to be clinicians first. So when we started as clinicians, repertory, I still remember my teacher telling me that you need to have certain books on your table, and the repertories, they were all repertories. So you have to have a general repertory which you're using, maybe Kent or a BBCR or a complete or a synthesis, whichever you're comfortable with. Of course, the softwares have made the job easier. And Boric was always to be there. Fatak's repertory was to be there. Clark's prescriber was supposed to be there. So these, and Wells diarrhea, because in a routine clinical practice, the seasons change, and you see these acutes which come up, and he's like, you cannot not refer them. So that's how the as a practitioner, the role of repertory is far superior than as a student, I would say.
Sir, the list of repertories that you just mentioned, I would want the homeopathic doctors, teachers, whoever are listening to this podcast, please mention what you have used in your practice very successfully and what kind of experience you have had with these repertories. Although these repertories are booklets, I'm sure Dr. Nikunj will be able to tell much better about it. But I believe that they are very useful by the bedside or, on your clinic table. Back then, when I was a student, the only thing that I remember of studying repertory was, and I really thank Dr. Ibrahim Maiskar sir, who was our teacher throughout in repertory. The way in which he taught us repertory was phenomenal. The logic of repertory, the philosophy of repertory, the depth to which it was, or rather the way in which it was taught was quite phenomenal. So that is what I remember of my repertory education. Sir, what according to you, what kind of attitude a student should develop so that when he learns repertory in college, that he understands it well and puts across very easily into his practice?
Okay, it's a very interesting thing which you asked. And most of the times we tend to miss out on things like repertory is also, the whole subject is repertory and case taking. So repertory is one part, case taking is another part. Now repertory is an aid to case taking. If somebody reads the rubrics or somebody studies a certain, say for example, you may have used it in your practice also, it's boric repertory. And when I'm looking at a patient who has come to me with vertigo, now vertigo is a routine clinical condition which we encounter. You do all the examination, you come to a diagnosis, and you say there's nothing wrong, it's pure vertigo which is there. And now you take up a totality. Now if you open boric's repertory, and you start seeing the rubrics of vertigo. Believe me, the arrangement of auric repertory would be absolutely location, sensation, modality, concomitant. So I can teach a first year student or a second year student who has just been exposed to a clinical posting, and you have to tell them that construct a totality. Most of us do it in the LSMC format, the classical analysis which you would write. So you will break down the symptom, analyze the symptom, and when you open the repertory, you will start seeing there are so many modalities: aggravating, ameliorating. There are so many associations which are there for a simple condition like vertigo. And a student, when he goes through that, he realizes that, oh, I have never asked this, or I have never thought of asking this. You start developing your own case taking. You start enhancing it. So next time when you see the next case, you're going to be sure that you're going to get a lot of data. You're going to ask the relevant questions. So that helps in understanding or improving your case taking. That is number one. And number two would be, again, the decision making. You coming down to a narrower set of remedies, a narrower set of drugs which are helping you, and then you start differentiating from there. So at the practice level, this is very important because repertory trains you to do that. And second point of what you said is what a student should realize or remember is, one is repertory is not to be studied in isolation. Everything is based on homeopathic philosophy, be it clinical medicine, be it materia medica, be it repertory. The most often neglected component of the practice or study is homeopathic philosophy. You cannot use a repertory without the knowledge of the philosophy of the author or the repertory on which it was created. You cannot use a repertory unless you know the background of the person who has created it. And what happens is most of the time is the man is forgotten and only his works are taught to all of us. So it is not one fine day that a person writes repertory. The repertory is a culmination of the person's thought or his philosophical approach or an attitude for which over the years he was performing or he was practicing. So one has to actually go on to study the person who has created the works, which helps you to create better insights, which at a UG level may be difficult. But yes, we ensure that at the postgraduate level, the man is understood and then his works are to be dealt with. So you cannot remove philosophy from repertory. Otherwise, it's just going to be a half-hearted thing.
What I understand now is this is very deep. For the audience who is listening to this, please try to understand what he's saying. You cannot understand the book without understanding the author. Something very, very deep. And I believe, I am not sure, I don't claim, but this is something which you will only learn at Dr. M.L. Dhawale Memorial Homoeopathic Institute. Because I have not heard of this concept before coming to this particular college. So this is something is that we all must take home and we must at least make an attempt. मैं चलो भाई कल नहीं किया है तो आज try कर लो. Try to understand, do some referencing, and study the author. Probably you will understand the subject better.
Right.
Wonderful, sir, and really very helpful understanding. And also that when you said that the way in which we learn this tool, no, even that part has really appealed to me as a clinician, because if you learn the tool in the clinics, after examining, you refer the repertory and then you figure out, okay, this is, what about if you turn the head right? Is the vertigo worsening? You don't have that in clinical examination. And then when you see that in the repertory, while referencing, you will actually ask the patient this question. Really helpful, sir. Really helpful. So, sir, coming to the next question, continuing education in the subject of repertory. Again, from the clinician's point of view, sir, what would you have to say about?
Actually, if I'm looking at it in terms of continued education, in terms of clinical practice, all of us have to go through it. It's not that we can just because we've got a degree and we've got the license to practice doesn't mean that we are equipped to handle things. All of us have to mandatorily upgrade our skills because the way in which science is developing and advancing, I think we as homeopaths cannot be left behind. So yes, a continued medical education is needed, and also I would say there are a lot of institutions in the country which are doing very good work, the academic institutions. Now, unfortunately, what is happening is the bridge between an academic institution and the practitioner is not coming at a one level. So a lot of institutions are doing work, a lot of dissertations are happening, a lot of research is happening, a lot of publications are being published by people, but the last mile or the practitioner who has chosen to go into full-time practice sometimes does not get access to them because he doesn't know what's happening. So the institutions need to reach out to the practitioners, and the practitioners also will need to seek for institutions wherein there are these CME programs or wherever there is, so that the bridge can be come at one level, because the good work which is happening in the institutions needs to get translated into knowledge, and that knowledge needs to be passed on to the final mile, that is the practitioner, because the practitioner is going to use this and report back to the institutions that no, this is right, this is correct, incorrect, this needs to be modified. So no, it has to be a more symbiotic relationship which both of them need to go through. And I think that's the whole thing of repertory, is that it is training you into systems. And repertory, if I look at not just as a index wherein I'm going to refer and do that, but repertory is also a systematic driven decision making tool which enables the practitioner, and that's what clinical medicine or modern medical education talks about. So that is something which is very important.
From what I gather is the Ministry of Ayush and I think currently it is the NCH that has
Right.
CME programs for academicians, for teachers who are teaching in college full-time.
Yes.
But I am not sure whether we have a government program for practitioners, like you said, taking it from the academic all
No,
the way.
CAP programs are there for practitioners, and there is an ROTP or reorientation, teachers reorientation program is for the teachers. But see, again, the dissemination of these programs, the dates, the logistics sometimes does not work in favor of the practitioner, because one would not, if it's a 4-day or a 3-day event and a practitioner feels that, oh, it's a weekday, I may not want to shut down my clinic and go to attend a program. But thankfully, with the advent of the social media, with advent of platforms like yours, which you're doing a great service, there is a gap is being bridged. And you see a lot of these platforms are a way of continued medical education, because you call in people from all walks, different experiences of their own, and a practitioner has a comfort. I would say, if I look myself purely as a practitioner, I would prefer this. I have a phone, I have my headphones on, and you just don't need to go anywhere. And in the comfort of your own house or your clinics, you are able to continue your medical education or your homeopathic education in a way which you would want to. And the choice is in your hands. I want to listen to this person, I want to listen to this. So yeah, you have a lot of choice as well. So yes, this is something which is the need of the hour, and it should be done more in a much bigger way as well, I would feel.
Sir, after listening to what you said, two things come to my mind. One is the ICR symposium, which is going to be a different topic. I think we can have an entire podcast on ICR symposium, which is a continuing education program which the Institute of Clinical Research has been running since 1974 or 75. I'm not very sure of the
Right.
year. It's that old. I think it's almost 50 years now that they have
Right.
been running. And the second thing, which I would like to keep this question at the towards the end, because otherwise people will run away, is the use of AI in studying and teaching repertory.
Right.
The next question that comes up is how should the teacher teach the subject of repertory? This is for teachers who are going to listen to this, and because I am in touch with many people who are actually teaching full time
Right.
in college.
Right. I think teaching is I would say, rather than a profession, it's a calling. And thankfully, what I maybe I never saw myself as a teacher. If I have to look and tell you that what it was to teach a repertory, you would ask, why would you select teaching repertory? And honestly, we are all trained to be clinicians and practitioners. So you don't see yourself that, oh no, I'm going to be a teacher, I'm going to be an academician, and then you go on to learn things in that. But yeah, I mean, thankfully, I was blessed with amazing teachers at my postgraduate level. And I think the passion in which I was taught the subject at the PG level made me look at things in a very different way. And the teaching, as I said, it's a calling. But yes, syllabus is to be done. There is curriculum which is to be taught. So of course there are regulations which are there, but how do you make it interesting is by learning with your own learners. So you're not a teacher, you're just a facilitator with some years of experience behind your belt, and you learn with your own learners. So when the new learner comes, you get to learn something new from them. And as I said, teaching repertory can be very dry because you're looking at books primarily and you're looking at symptoms. But when I said again, the man and his works, and the whole interesting aspect of study of repertory comes when you start seeing the man, and then you start when you go into the life, you go into the whole works of the person till the event that this book was created. You start the jigsaw gets completed, the dots get connected, and that's an interesting journey. And trust me, every year when a new batch comes and we have these sessions with them at the PG level, and when we teach them every year, there's something new to learn for me as a teacher, because the student has gone to such a great extent to do studies, and we encourage at our institute, we encourage them to reach out to people. So there are people who have contacted Boger's family members just to get in touch with them. And you said the internet, uh, you can use it very wisely. You can search, they're able to search the family, and most of the family members, I still remember one of our learners and our colleague, was working on Boger's synoptic key and Boger's works. He got in touch with Boger's family, and Boger's the family members were kind enough to share old photographs with him, whatever was there remaining in the family, certain details which was there. I still remember one learner was working on Boninghusen, and there's a Robert Bosch Museum in Germany which does a lot of history of homeopathy and all, and they wanted some data about certain subject which the learner was going to prepare. An email was written, and they sent a reply within say 48 hours with the details of whatever data they had with them about the subject. And they said, is this is we have only this much, and these are the two contact persons who have worked much more in detail. This is their email, you can please contact them. See, that's how learning occurs. Now you had one source, you start learning, you reach out to people, they help you, they share you some more people, those people will give you more information, and that's how a dialogue takes place. I think most of us are very happy sitting in our own clinics and practicing, or maybe in our own institutions and being happy with teaching our students. Collaborations is the future. Collaborations is the need of the hour also. So you cannot sit in isolation and say, oh, I'm doing very good work and I don't care if people want to come, they have to come to me. No, I think all of us together have to grow, and knowledge sharing is the key to this. So it's not that only I should keep the knowledge with me. The more you give, the more you get. And that's how it makes things interesting for me as a teacher also, or for all of us in our department. We learn something new every year in a subject. So that keeps your interest alive. And it makes you also to go back and read. Oh, I never thought of this, or this is something new. So as a teacher, I would say reach out, always learn from your students. Of course, this is possible at a postgraduate level. At undergraduate, teachers might say, oh, they don't know, we need to teach them. That's always something new to teach every year. So they can make it more interesting as well.
There are two things over here that actually work, and what I figured out is one is the teacher's motivation. You identify what talent the student has, and probably he will be able to take that to the extent contacting Boger's family. That is something beyond my imagination, to be very frank. And the second thing is the student's motivation. Unless both these things work together, and obviously eventually there will be some appreciation, maybe there will not be there when once it is published. Because like this also reminds me of the ICR philosophy, that if people cannot reach you, you reach out to people. That is how they started their outreach program for homeopathy, and they have a huge program running in the rural areas of Palghar. If all of you, let's say you find out something very unique when you are referring to the repertory, or for that matter, any homeopathic subject, Do you share it with your colleagues? Do you write something about it? Do you create a video? Do you publish a peer reviewed paper and share it with your colleagues? Tell us a yes or no. And if yes, you have done it, tell us where you have published it. You can put a link in the comment section. If no, what is that is stopping you? Even I mean, we would like to know that what is stopping you from not sharing it with your colleagues. That is also something which is at times pains me, but I would like to know why does that happen. Coming to the end of the podcast, the question which I asked Nikunj sir before that, there are two concerns I have about AI, or rather, let me say one is a concern and the other thing is a hope that it will be able to teach students better. The students will be able to learn better repertory using AI. And the second concern is how long before a company develops a program where the patient just needs to feed symptoms and they can be given name of the remedy and the dosage, and then the doctor's role is cut out.
I think it's a very, very important perspective of AI coming in a big way in the last couple of years. And of course, it has reached all the professions. So homeopathy is not something which it will not reach. It is already at our doorsteps. So yes, there will be, as you said, there will be programs which might give you the remedies. There will be programs which will help assist the practitioners at a certain way to come to a much better remedy. So again, as I said, do I view repertory as a index of symptoms, or I view it as a book to be studied in a curriculum, or do I view repertory as a decision making tool? If I see repertory as a decision making tool, I will be the master. I'm going to somebody who is it empowers me to take better clinical decisions at the bedside. So if AI comes in, AI is going to help me do my work better. With regards to the doctor being out of question, that's not going to happen because the human interaction is, yes, we've not yet reached the levels of advanced human empathies which the AI interface can do that. Things are happening at a very fast speed as we speak, but the role of the physician, the doctor patient communication, the clinical interaction is paramount to homeopathic practice. And that is an AI interface or a bolt or a robot may not replace that. Other things, yes, it may replace in future, but the human interaction is going to be there. The face-to-face communication or the conversations are going to be there. And then the tool will help you take better decisions. So I would say rather than running away from AI or getting scared of AI, we need to welcome it. It helps you to make better decisions for your patients. And I think that's very, very important as clinicians, that it allows us and empowers us to take quality decisions, and your success rate is much better, is superior. So why shy away from it? Rather, I would say we need to embrace it with open arms.
So true, so true. Sir, any ongoing research on AI and homeopathy in the academic field?
I'm sure there are a lot of work which is happening. I haven't come across any papers which have been come up in the peer reviewed journals for the decision making or the processes which assist in that. But I'm sure in the near future there will be the software makers. I'm sure going to add a lot of these components to their softwares, and we'll see them in near future surely.
Wonderful sharing, Nikunj sir. And yes, we have concluded today's podcast, but the best part of the podcast, take home message from a teacher to the student. Nikunj sir, over to you.
See, the take home message is one. Always make an effort, as I said earlier, also to refer the repertory at the bedside. Carry a repertory of your choice, when you go to your clinics or your wards. Or why students, as practitioners also, we all have busy practices, and in busy practice, routinism sets in. And, we just give it, let's see. And if, all of us take cognizance sometimes in a busy practice when there is no result. So use repertory much frequently, consult it more often, and you will see that your results are better. Students should, obviously, there is no escape from reading the repertory. So you need to do that as well. So these are the two things. And a request would be for everyone is just don't read the repertory. Read about the man. he or she is writing the repertory, and it will give you a much better insights into the repertory creation process also. And the third is, do not philosophy is the paramount for entire homeopathic practice. So you need to go back to the basics of homeopathic philosophy. I think this would be the basic learnings which I would like to share.
Really very inspiring, Nikunj sir. And like I said, I would like to learn more from him, and I would like to bring him back onto the podcast one more time. If there is any particular topic relevant to the repertory that you wish to know from him or you are curious about, please mention them in the comments. I will also leave his email ID in the description for you to reach out to him. But please ensure that you do not send emails which are not relevant to repertory and to his subject. Send something that is only very relevant to him and with good references. And this is not just for him. I'm saying that please make it a habit of communicating in a very systematic way. Otherwise, what happens, I will tell you. Sometimes people just send a hi on WhatsApp with no name, with no purpose, nothing. Don't use such communications. Very categorical about this. And the second thing is, we are going to come up with the second part of this podcast with Dr. Nikunj, where we will be talking about his journey into JISH and about JISH and about peer-reviewed writing, scientific writing in homeopathy, which will be recording and it will come soon. If you wish to know more about Dr. Dhawale Memorial Homoeopathic Institute, I leave the email ID of the college in the description also. So currently we are having MD over there and we are having PhD.
Yeah, MLW is, we have just a postgraduate institution. So there is MD in 6 subjects and 3 clinical subjects: medicine, pediatrics, psychiatry, and the philosophy, 3 basic subjects of mathematica, philosophy, and repertory. And of course, the same subjects at the PhD level also, which are there.
Right, sir. So thank you, Nikunj sir, once again for being part of the HomeoMitra Vartaalap. People who are listening to this podcast, please share it with everyone whom you know, because this is going to be helpful for the entire homeopathic community. Thank you once again, Nikunj sir.
Thank you, Keo. Thank you for having me. Thank you.